Hey friends, Sean from SGTReport.com here with a very important precious metals and economic update. Boy, did Egon van Gruyers get it right when he wrote this article, A World of Lies, but Gold Will Reveal the Truth. We posted that at SGTReport.com, and you can read the entire article there for yourself. But we're going to go down memory lane here to paint a very important picture for you about how far gone the system is and how little physical precious metal there is left in the vaults. This article from Zero Hedge, Scotia Mocatta put for sale after multi-billion-dollar money laundering scandal. The world's oldest gold trader is for sale after a massive money laundering scandal may have terminally crippled one of the most iconic names in the business. Guys, I'm going to take you down memory lane and remind you what Harvey Organ told us back in 2010. I interviewed him myself, and we're going to share a Zero Hedge article with you to refresh your memory here in just a second. But let me read this. Canada's Bank of Nova Scotia is exploring options for its gold business, Scotia Mocatta, the Financial Times reported, which include a possible sale of Canada's most popular precious metals trader. We'll skip down here. While gold trading has been in a cyclical decline in recent years, the, quote, straw that broke the camel's back in prompting the sale was Scotiabank's lending to Elemetal, a precious metals refinery in Dallas. Scotiabank was one of its biggest traders, they said. Chris Duane has reported about this in detail. The problem emerged in March when U.S. prosecutors accused workers at a subsidiary of Elemetal, NTR Metals in Florida, of a money laundering scheme using billions of dollars of criminally derived gold, mostly from Peru. NTR imported more than $3.6 billion of gold from Latin America from 2012 to 2015, the court documents allege. Two of the accused, Samar Barrage and Juan Granda, pleaded guilty last month to a charge of money laundering in plea deals. After the story came to light in March, Elemetal was kicked off the London Bullion Markets Association Good Delivery List of gold refiners. Now there's a funny phrase, Good Delivery List. I don't think that there's much gold in physical form left in any of the vaults anywhere. Why do we know that? Well, we have Harvey Organ telling us so as it pertains to Scotia Mocatta itself, Canada's largest physical bullion bank, back in 2010. Here's the article. Let me remind you what Harvey said. The latest gold fraud bombshell, Canada's only bullion bank gold vault, is practically empty. Now recall, I've interviewed Harvey Organ about this very story on several occasions. The article reads, continuing on the trail of exposing what is rapidly becoming one of the largest frauds in commodity markets history is a recent interview with GATA's Adrian Douglas.
But if you look at the physical market, the LBMA, it trades 20 million ounces of gold per day on a net basis, which is $22 billion. That's $5.4 trillion a year. That's half the size of the U.S. economy. If you take the gross amount, it's about 1.5 times the U.S. economy. That is not trading 100% backed metal. It's a fractional reserve basis. So, you can tell that from the LBMA's website because they trade in unallocated accounts. And if you look at their definition of unallocated account, they say you're an unsecured creditor. Well, if it's unallocated, if you buy 100 tons of gold, even if you don't have the serial numbers, you should have 100 tons of gold. So how can you be an unsecured creditor? Well, it's because it's fractional reserve accounting. I mean, you can't trade that much gold. It doesn't exist in the world. So the people who are hedging these positions on LBMA are essentially, it's paper hedging paper.
Of course, that's the same hearing, guys, in which Jeffrey Christian let the cat out of the bag about how much paper gold is in the system, saying that gold trades like other financial assets, and like T-bonds and T-bills, it trades 100 to 1 the physical.
And people will say, well, and you've heard it today, there's not that much physical metal out there. There isn't. But in the physical market, as the market uses that term, there is much more metal than that. There's 100 times what there is.
Now, of course, it was Harvey Organ and his son Lenny who discussed their visit to the only bullion bank vault in Canada, Scotia Mocatta, located at 40 King Street West in Toronto, and found that the vault was practically empty. Harvey, you were called to testify before the CFTC because you had alerted them about your visit to the Scotiabank vault under the control of Mocatta, in which you and your son Lenny were shocked by a vault which contained precious little physical gold and silver. Harvey, can you briefly recap that story for us?
Well, what actually happened was that the family was doing a reorganization, and we had to do an audit. And the auditors came in and said, well, they ran down to 40 King Street in Toronto and says, we're here to do an audit. And they said, well, you can't come in. And we said, what? These are auditors.
Harvey, this was an audit of your physical precious metal.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And what had actually happened was that we received this through our COMEX purchases, through Bank of Nova Scotia, and they're one of the carriers. Mocatta, they're 100% owned by the Bank of Nova Scotia, and they brought our silver and gold up from New York, and it was housed in Toronto. And then when the family wanted to do the reorganization, of course, we had the auditors had to do an audit, and that's when the fun begins. And the other thing was also scary at the time was we were hearing a lot of funny things going on with disappearing silver and gold around the planet. So my son was also very scared, and that's why he demanded to go in as well. And there was a whole series of letters written by the lawyers that demanded that they were to see what was there. And finally, we don't know how, but my son, I was in Czechoslovakia at the time, but my son goes in, and he sees that our silver and gold was not there. He actually went in, and they said, where's ours? Not there. And he takes a note of how much of silver and gold was there, and basically the unallocated was basically nothing, and the allocated he could see. So the stuff that was allocated, like Eric Sprott's stuff, was certainly there, and I think the bullion fund was certainly there, but the amount of unallocated, or on the other side, they called it unallocated, was nothing, which means all the banks with certificates of silver and gold were basically non-existent there.
Lenny goes on to describe exactly how much, or how little, as the case may be, silver was available, roughly 60,000 ounces in physical form. As for gold, 210 400-ounce bars, 4,000 maples, 500 gold eagles, 10 kilo bars, 10 1-kilogram pieces of gold nugget form, which Adrian Douglas calculated at the time as being $100 million worth, which is just 1/10 of what the Royal Mint of Canada sold in 2008 alone. As Harvey Organ concluded at the time, the game ends when the people who own all of these paper obligations say enough and take physical delivery, and that's when the mess will occur. Now, if memory serves, it took Harvey and his son a very long time to finally get the physical delivery of their gold, which was supposedly stored at Scotia Mocatta. They fought that battle, and it took several weeks, I believe, to get their gold, but they did finally get it, and that is the cautionary tale for everybody else listening. If you don't hold it, you don't own it.
All paper money goes to their intrinsic value, and that intrinsic value is zero.
Right.
And once you understand that, and it will, and these guys will do anything they can. The bankers are crooked.
And we'll come full circle with this article, A World of Lies, but Gold Will Reveal the Truth. I suggest everyone read it, and the conclusion from Egon is this: I have a message for an oblivious world which doesn't realize what will hit them. To avoid total wealth destruction, buy insurance in the form of physical gold and silver while there is still time. When history's biggest Ponzi scheme is found out, it will probably be impossible to get a hold of physical gold and silver at any price. Friends, thanks so much for listening, and if you want to seek the protection of physical gold and silver, please click at the banner at the top of SGT Report and visit our good friends, our sponsors at SD Bullion, and they'll take very good care of you. Thanks so much for listening, and for real news 24/7, visit us at sgtreport.com.
What most Americans still haven't really come to terms with is that the FBI has been a criminal operation for a long time. In fact, Robert Mueller refused to allow Congress to interrogate FBI informants who had been inside terror cells before 9/11. So the FBI is a criminal operation, part of the so-called deep state.